Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Origin Series. It is our fourth and final day of the August edition of the Origin Series. And today we have got two banging best of five grand finals for you. And who better to start it off than myself and Riku. Riku, good week so far. Games today looking spicy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be spicy because last time we had our Origin Finals, it was such an exciting, full-on BO5s. Curious to see if the trend will seep through, the August edition.
Absolutely. Well, to kick things off, we've got a lovely little bit of content for you to look at. Those September finals that everyone has been talking about, that air of mystery surrounding them, that curtain is about to lift. Let's take a look at what some of the players are looking forward to as we get towards the championship.
The lands in September is basically our main goal. It's a very important. I think it's going to be very cool. I hope so. And I definitely want to go there.
Coming up to the September Grand Finals, I think we're all really excited. I personally have stage experience from the past with these sports, but there's no feeling like playing on stage and kind of like having that super intense, like high quality games that you really get in the zone, and it's just a really great experience. A lot of my teammates don't have that, so I'm super excited to they all have the opportunity to kind of like have these really serious tournaments and offline events, and I think it'll be really cool, and I'm super excited to be there for one of the first Wild Rift ones.
I think for every player and for every team, the main goal is going for Worlds, Wild Rift Worlds, and winning that. And to achieve that goal, like every single step, like it's Origins, then LAN, then going from LAN to Worlds. All this, like, it's one step by step, It's important point for every player.
So to represent Europe or one seed of Europe at that final would be a great and amazing feeling, like to be on stage, also with your teammates, to see your teammates in real life, talk to them, or also your enemies, like to talk to them, etc. would be a really great experience, and you wouldn't forget that easily, obviously. It's just you're creating memory there for yourself and for everyone competing there. And in the end, obviously, if you are winning it, then it's something you will never ever forget. You will always think about for weeks, months, maybe even years. So it's a great honor to go there, and I'm really looking forward and happy.
This is really good for the competition in general, for the teams as well, just to face each other in a offlane, in a LAN. And I think just for the Wild Rift competitive, it's gonna be such a good experience for every player and for every team.
Tons for us to talk about later in the show, Riku. The championship that everyone is looking forward to is not too far away. But before we turn our focus to the future, I think we best focus here on the present, because there are some awesome highlights from yesterday's games ahead of these two best of fives that we have got today. Some brilliant games that kicked off. And again, Riku really setting us up for an exciting day today.
Yeah, exactly. We had our first BO5 finale, focused a little bit more on the Group C with Cut Esports taking that 3-0 against GK. I mean, they were able to get their revenge, able to still take that championship title, especially they have been constantly top 2 since the beginning, since June rather, and it has been a very, very explosive series, especially like pretty sure they've discovered the weakness of GK last night, just constantly banning out the Xin Zhao and the Ashe.
And in Group B as well, we have BK Rog coming up against BAL Esports. And for BK Rog, I believe that was one of those ones where if they won it and got themselves into the final and won the whole thing, they could have snatched the victory away from Na'Vi and taken that second seed spot in Group B to make it into the championships. But sadly, not quite to be the case. Instead, we wind up in a different storyline today, at least here in Group B, where Supermassive Blaze come up against BAL Esports in that first best of five. But another good series yesterday. I think it's the one thing that really carried across all three games that we had yesterday actually was entertainment from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when we talk about Group B, it's one of these sporadic groups, I suppose. From the June month, there has been, 3 completely different teams following suit from top 2 to top 4. It has been constantly Unicorns of Love, in that championship round, but it's a little bit different. But this, what we're seeing right now is a little bit more towards Group A. We've got Game Lord and Team Queso. It was a pretty explosive match. I feel like the Nami has been constantly prioritized. It's just so paired. It just pairs well with so many AD carries and so many compositions like what we're seeing right now.
We had the real terror as well of Ruiz on the RE. One of the ones that Scoundrel was saying during that series, are they going to let it through? Are they going to ban it away? Because yes, Ari isn't quite pick ban kind of priority right now, but for a couple of players, Ruiz being one of them, I think he showed us exactly why you should fear him playing on that champion in particular. Kaizo netting themselves a spot against No Team, No Talent, which is the second best of 5 that you will see later on today. So as a reminder, 2 best of 5s coming up. Tons to look forward to, Riku.
Yeah, we're going to see a repeat of the June finals for Group A, and I'm so excited to see that later on throughout the day.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at our schedules to begin with. The brackets. Getting confused in my own mind here. Take a look at how things are shaped up in 4K. No, production, they're going to play with me. They're going to do schedule first because they're the real MVPs. Here is what you've got coming up for you today. Yesterday was GK against Cut in a best of 5. Cut winning that one decisively with a 3-0. We start things off with Supermassive Blaze, the team that seemed to have come from nowhere and knocked out some of the big baddies in this competition, coming up against BAL Esport, who fought their way up through the lower bracket. Ending the day off with No Team, No Talent coming up against Team Kaizo. Some really exciting games, and we'll then progress on to taking a look as well at the bracket so you can see that miracle run that we were talking about. We'll start in Group A, but when we get to Group B, it's worth looking at the journey that Supermassive Blaze have had so far. Riku, talk to me about Group A.
Yeah, No Team, No Talent still pretty much at the top of the Tippity charts. They're constantly at the upper bracket, even when we look at their journey back in June. And again, we talked about this team. Keso is going to face them in the finals later on, and it is a repeat of the July, or rather the June finals that we saw 2 months ago.
Absolutely. Take a look then over at Group B, and this is the one that I was excited to see because on that first day came in, we saw Supermassive coming up against Sangel and thought, looking at the history, Sangel should breeze through this game, but no. 4th game down from the top, Supermassive Blaze 2-0'd them, 2-1 Unicorns of Love, 2-1 Footballist, and did the same to BK Rog, landing themselves in the final. UOL going out in round teams, top 3 rows down there in the second round. A surprise and a half, and Na'Vi also not managing to make it past BAL Esport. So the 2 teams that have made it into the championship, UOL and Na'Vi, are not present, which kind of gives you a bit of a worry about what the future may hold if we see Origin Series come round again. Is it going to be a clear-cut UOL Na'Vi victory? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, meanwhile, let's take a look at Group C over here. It has been, constantly the fight between Sunlight versus Cut Esports from June to July, but it has been a different story as Team Occupy has knocked down Sunlight into the lower bracket, and the same thing as well from GK. But at the end of the day, it is Cut that reigned supreme yesterday in the BO5 series, 3-0 against GK.
I think everyone expected in that group for it to be another best of 5 between Cut and Sunlight as well, because they were like 14 points between them. The winner of the series, or whoever got the further through the competition, was basically guaranteed to take the only spot coming out of Group C, but ultimately it was Cut who walk away the winner. However, let's take a look at some content out of Cold Star from UOL, who are unfortunately no longer in the competition. Look at their thoughts on how things are going so far.
In this case, I don't feel that deeply depressed as I was on Monday. The future feels bright now. Everything we've made through the half year and a lot of job been done, a lot of hours and months of playing, it's not in vain, We got to our goal. We are going to the LAN finals. I think that the fact that we won the first and the second Origin series means that we deserve it. We really deserve it, despite our loss in the third one. I think that this loss and this result will, I hope, and I think it will give us strength to come back as a bigger, stronger team in September. I just want to say thanks to all our fans for cheering for us. Even though we didn't get to the finals, I hope everybody cheering for Unicorns. We will come stronger, because what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, and we'll stand up and keep fighting.
I love that statement. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Apparently, quite a few teams are able to kill you guys this month, sadly, Cold Star, but they have done enough. They have got that spot at the championship. So as he said, lots to look forward to in September. Riku, though, we've got 2 big games coming up today, like we've mentioned. Supermassive coming up against BK Rog before No Team, No Talent play against Kaizo. Quick 2-sentence prediction from you on those 2 games.
Okay, full BO5s. Here we go at the first series. I feel like it is going to be Supermassive Blaze's win, though, in a 3-2 fashion. For the next game, I really like Game Lord's performance last month, so I feel like they will take that 3-2 against Team Keso.
All right, short and sweet, just the way I like it. However, there's a bit of content for us to take a look at ahead of this first series in Group B. Let's get some thoughts from the players ahead of this best of 5.
You can see I'm on red, like my face, my hair. It was so exciting game I have had in my life.
For Gareth, he does get stunned, but he does not care. What a beautiful offer.
We are so happy. We had huge changes in our jungle, our support, mid, ADC. Like, we had so good synergy.
BAL
Are they
is
gonna
knocking
end?
on to their base. They really want
They're
to
gonna
end the game.
So that's why I think we are here, because of that. It's all about my team.
I don't know what team come from the lower bracket, but we will win.
They would just want to end the series ASAP. Wukong, that was too close for
We won
comfort.
such a big opponent. Then I think we can do it again.
So the two Turkish team gonna play, and who wins doesn't matter. Like, the Turkish team gonna finish in first place. So we are so happy about that also.
I already say everything I want. Now is all left is winning.
Oh, it's so cute. All the love they get from each other as well. And like they said, it is basically two Turkish teams here playing in this best of 5 grand final. But there is one Australian player that we'll be talking about in just a second. In fact, let's get them up right now. Spec, the only player, the jungler for BAL, who is Australian. Everyone else in this game Turkish. So the rise of the Turkish teams this month, it feels like, Riku.
Yeah, right now there's a little bit of mirror between these two teams. I feel like, you got Bambi and Spec on the other side of the spectrum, having a little bit of mirror when it comes to playstyle, serving as the tank for the rest of the squad to set up for their carries in the team.
Well, hopefully those carries can do a lot of work. I hear that our draft is ready. So for game 1, let us get into our pick and ban, Riku. Excited to see what bans come out, because Akali being that ever-present ban that's come through, the rise of Pantheon so far over the last 3 or 4 days in the jungle. Could be some spicy picks in this game as well.
Yeah, and look at them. SMB already banning out the Ahri. They don't want that level 3 spike, and as well as the pick potential as well. BAL, on the other hand, just wants to take out any sort of scary mid to late game threat, such as the Ziggs. Darius, again, meaning SMB could potentially get the Renekton. They don't want any awkward level 1s for the big crocodile over there. And yes, as you mentioned, Dezichu, it is going to be, again, Akali getting taken out, because as we saw last time, Nakras had an amazing and crazy game on that pick.
He did, yeah, and that game against BK Rog was pretty terrifying, so not at all surprised to see it taken away and the Akali to follow through after. Camille for the pick potential. And the top lane duelists that we've often seen going toe-to-toe with each other in the Darius and the Garen also being taken away. And there is that Pantheon jungle, we assume, that we spoke about, one that has been incredibly dominant in the early to mid game so far.
Yeah, they do love those, again, that level 5 presence with the semi-global ult with the Grand Starfall. And in the meantime, BAL decides to take up this double AD carry composition. They will need a Braum. They will need a disengage to, again, make sure that these two carries will be safe. As again, Ferris, pretty low mobile. Gragas, big disengage pick alongside with the Nami. So a lot of AoEs on the board already for SMB.
I really want to see BAL potentially walking away with the Gragas, but that got swiped away by Supermassive Blaze. The Janna is okay. My number one fear with that is ultimately there's so many ways to interrupt her ultimate or just get her away from a carry with, say, the Gragas ultimate. So we're going to need to see a lot of shining play on that Janna to really have a massive effect. On the other side, it's going to be that Renekton versus the Fiora in the top side. And finally, we see the carry pick come through for Supermassive Blaze. It's going to be that Kai'Sa.
Yeah, Kai'Sa is going to be that late game insurance, and SMB is just going to try and propel and see if they can assemble this 4-1 setup with a Fiora. Meanwhile, Wukong, the last pick coming from BAL. So a lot of these 5v5s on the board for their composition.
Game 1's ready then. Let's get into it. Onto the Rift to see how things start shaking down. As a reminder, again, this is a best of 5. There is nothing really to claim for winning it except higher get standings up the table, more money, more points that you build into. But unfortunately, neither of these two teams can make it into the top 2 to make it to the championship next month.
With that, looking at the movements in the map right now, again, for SMB, level 3 could potentially be strong, Lonely with a Gragas, and as well as Pantheon with a stun. So Rift Scuttler fights could potentially be seen in this game. But look at this though, SMB, they're sneaking around. They do want a potential steal. They have a pretty strong level 1 here, bubble and a stun.
I mean, they're going to land it all as well. There's enough damage to come through to actually nuke him out there. One more hit will be enough, and there it is, stolen away. This is why we speak about that cover being required. If it didn't go well for Bambi there, if he didn't get that buff, that could have been catastrophic for his early game, but they make it work. And now it's Spec who's on the back foot.
Yeah, that's going to be awkward. That's going to slow down Specs clear for sure. Able to sort of not take control of the early Scuttler presence. And now we get to see Bambi for sure going to move towards his red buff, making sure that BAL will not get the opportunity to potentially exchange buffs. Are they still going at it? Poor Spec.
I mean, I think he's expecting to find him here somewhere. We'll realize that he's already cleared this out, but I think the buff might still be in place in this case. So may find himself with none. Is going to try and invade, but my worry is he's level 2 here. If there's any kind of ward down, of which there currently isn't, he'd be in trouble. Instead, turning his attention in towards the crab. I'd be terrified if this turns into a 4-buff scenario against the Wukong.
Yeah, it's a little bit awkward. Spec had to go around Nacris.
Oh, no way does he die here. No way does he go down again. Smites out onto the crab, has the flash away if he wants it, but in this spot needs to get away and can't do it. This is a terrible early game for the Wukong as it's all falling apart. Again, great team play coming out of Supermassive Blaze. That Pantheon running the field right now.
And he's just level 3 and more kills?
God.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, this is Bambi's jungle now. Spec cannot step foot in their own quadrants because Bambi and the fact that Geist is always roaming with a Pantheon makes it so much harder because, again, Tulkas can just manage on his own. He has the Icadian Rain for the wave clear. And literally, if it's level 5, then that means there's pre-level 5 rather, there's no threat of a chain of corruptions coming from Katze.
Bambi evolving from being a fawn into a full-blown stag here with some pretty spiky horns, taking the shape of a spear. Replay coming through as it was the Wukong again who got absolutely penciled down here, even with the smite coming in onto the crab to give some health back and flash on side. Didn't manage to use it in the way that he wanted, burnt it, stays in the river, and it's an easy cleanup for Supermassive Blaze. And as you saw earlier on, the pressure just carried on. It's now starting to affect more than just the jungle. It's starting to bleed into lanes as well. And it's this early advantage where I start to feel really nervous for the Wukong.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Gandalf needs to reach his 2 to 3 item power spike depending on what build he's going to go through. Maybe Essence Reaver, Solari Charge Blade, and then you head on over to the Infinity Edge. It's going to slow down the damage coming from BAL. That means who needs to pick up the pace? Knight. He has to win his lane to make up for the losses. But it's a big problem because, again, Spec has been struggling. Look at this. There's so many deep vision coming from SMB in BAL's jungle. So I'm sure this is going to be the last time Spec's life is going to get hunted.
I'm quite worried for Gandalf in that mid lane. Looking more like Gandalf the Grey than Gandalf the White, but at this point start calling in Gandalf the Grey screen because he's going to get focused down by Bambi more as this continues as well. We spoke about him starting to accelerate the early game. You're looking towards the assists on the Nami, who's done great jobs getting involved across the field as well. The most important thing to look towards now is going to be this Drake coming online in about 10 seconds. The gold lead only sat at about 1,500, but opportunities here where maybe we see Bambi get back to base, pick up the Black Cleaver before this gets online, and then they can start really looking for a scrap.
Yeah, that could be a possibility. And right now, their movement and their decisions, okay, not an Infernal Drake. That's just an Ocean Drake. We're just going to get this, open up the map, maybe open the opportunity of using the Grand Starfall to get a tower dive, either in the mid lane or, as we see Nacris, just trying to buy some time for the rest of SMB. They get the Rift Herald, then head straight to the Dragon.
And here they go as well. Oh, straight across the whole team. Burns are only a couple, mind you, but they've knocked down the ones they want. It's the Wukong as the focus. In goes the package, but he's alone in the back line. Gandalf back out to safety, but the damage appears to be there for the side of BAL. They have found themselves a couple of kills back with nothing coming in response for the side of Supermassive. Double knocker coming in, away they will escape. Supermassive managing to stem the bleeding somewhat, but it's a triple kill coming out for BAL.
Yeah, that's a really nice kill for Gandalf. Double kill for them to equalize their losses in the early game. And they even get an Ocean Drake to boot. Of course, they'll definitely, for SMB, it's a bit awkward. Again, for the Grand Starfall, they would want to get a pick off first before committing 100% into that fight. And we didn't get to see that happen, and they went straight for it. The rest of the carries coming from BAL were pretty much safe in that scenario.
And they're trying really to press the early advantage here as well. Herald, which they did prioritize, coming out into the bottom tower. Let's not forget that did result in 3 kills coming back the other way, trying to see what they can find here, but it's a 3 versus 2. I imagine Bambi and co want to go too deep. Almost killing Spec there with the empowered spear coming through, but not quite enough to finish him off, as on the top side, they've had 2 towers on the go. The top one in the top lane, the first to fall, re-extending that gold lead up to about 2k.
I really like what they did there. They pressured 2 lanes at the same time. BAL forced to focus more on the Rift Herald, but it is still SMB getting that First Blood Tower, getting them that gold advantage. Let's take a look at that replay again. Really nice Grand Starfall, but the Starfall was towards the tank. It was towards the Wukong. It's not something that he used to attack the backline. So I think that is the reason why they didn't get to get Gandalf, they didn't get to get Katse at least in that fight, and basically all the carries from BAL were the ones that survived and got a lot of backline safety, and that's a double kill. And of course, the Corki will definitely welcome that.
It's kind of the panic point of where they focus pretty much exclusively on the Wukong with 2 ultimates, right? Grand Starfall connecting onto him and his clone, the same with the Nami Tidal Wave coming through. They're their 2 big kind of engagements in these fights before the Gragas arrived about 3 seconds later. Did get the ult down, disperse the team, but he's a full tank. He's not really there to be the damage threat for them, so not enough really coming out of Toolcast just yet in the game. Has got the items online to make sure he gets at least a first empowered ability, but you need a bit more than that, I feel, when you're coming up against the double carry of the Varus and the Corki. Let's keep a close eye on how the next fight breaks down. As it stands, again, about a 1.5k gold lead to Supermassive. They've had the control in the early game, but BAL are keeping up.
Yeah, the pressure will definitely fall on towards Bambi to use, again, the Grand Starfall to create opportunities, maybe a tower dive, and reach the backline and get Kaze. Kaze will definitely be the most vulnerable target because, again, very low mobility, and that's why they have Gariban, right? They do have a lot of peel, and I think that could be the biggest struggle in the upcoming fights. And for SMB, they'll definitely have a hard time, but good thing they have Tolkas here on the Kaisa that will serve as their late game carry. And with that said, we'll see if the 4-1 setup will be available for SMB as well, especially if Nokris gets ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the Fury is your kind of late game insurance policy along with the Kaiser, I feel like, right? Because Gragas is going to be full tank. The Pantheon will fall off the longer the game goes on. You're turning towards those 2 to be your big late game insurance policy. And on the other side, you're looking towards the Corki and the Varus, which really relies on the Wukong and the Renekton to drag them through the mid game a little bit, be that threatening front line with the Janna to be the counter disengage if they need it. But also on that side, looking towards them potentially starting to fall off as the later the game goes by too. So a few things to keep a close eye on as we get towards that 10-minute mark. And of course, the second Drake's now looking to come online. About 30 seconds away or so, I imagine you'll start seeing both teams heading back to base here, spending whatever gold they hold on to in anticipation of this next big fight.
Yeah, looking at the pickups for the next big fight, it is still, the Manamune, not yet fully stacked, but Cyrilda is getting picked up for Katse. I keep talking about this. It feels like you have an Ashe in your squad when you do pick this up, especially as Varus. So this means it's much easier. You provide utility, you provide slows, which also means that you can easily land the Chain of Corruptions for setups for the rest of the squad. Once you set that up, then you get the AoEs with the rockets. And now just a little bit of an exchange and poke coming from Nokris against Knight on top.
Yeah, I think there was him just trying to enter at the back, and Nokris wanted to give a little bit back to him on that side. See the recall coming in, and both top laners just bolt it down towards this Drake or out towards the mid lane. They know that's where the net scrap is going to be. BAL currently in control of the vision in the river, so the one's free to step in. Whereas SMB, I feel, are just playing this one a little more cautiously, waiting to see what the Corki does. Because that package, as we've seen for the last 2 or 3 days, has been an absolute terror in team fights.
Yeah, being able to have the fight. Here comes the Grand Starfall.
Well, straight on top as well. Yeah, Specs the one in the front line. Everyone else zone back was there as well. Janna ultimate coming out to try and keep everyone alive, but they're taking the Drake away. They could peel back here if they wanted to and call it a day. Knight in the front line, pretty tight tanky, but no one at the back getting any damage down. The Varus and the Corki especially, completely out of mana, but able to dish out any real damage. And sure enough, it's going to be a, we'll take your dragon and we'll back away. No one dead in that fight.
Nicely done steal, yeah, from Bambi, and they're not even resetting yet.
I mean, they still want to try and go for a dive by the looks of it. Finish off the tower here. Now, potentially, they might be get forced into a fight they did not want to take. Heal coming out. Initial focus onto the Janna, but should be able to just walk himself away. Both teams opting to just back away from it once more, but it feels like it's BAL with some of the pressure in this bot lane, whilst up in the mid lane, it's Kaiser versus the Wukong.
It is just going to be the wave clear. No, Tolkas has been focusing on farming to speed up the process. Because again, you're up against, double 80 carries, especially Gandalf just going to balloon up, just going to hurt in the mid game. And with that said, Tolkas is just trying to again, make up for what happened earlier, I suppose. Well, not really make up. That's not what I'm talking about. But at the same time, for BAL, they're trying to find these 5v5s again. But I really like how you brought up that eventually, Knight's going to fall off. So I feel like the mid game is the best scenario for BAL to force fights.
Kind of feel it's the best time to press the advantage that you have with the Pantheon as well. I mean, he's now falling behind and he's the second poorest player on team. Look how much gold is being amassed by this Kai'Sa despite being 0, 1, and 0. 8.5k at the minute, light years ahead of seemingly anyone else both on the team and on the other side. The Corki just about breaking 8k. Yes, he's been quiet. Yes, he hasn't had to get involved anywhere. But when he does get involved, my God, is he going to make an impact?
Yeah, already picked up the Solari Charge Blade, so those Radiant stacks and the crits are gonna hurt a lot. And it synergizes well too because, Katse already has the Muramana fully stacked. So his piercing arrows will be absolutely painful. And we'll see if BAL, again, will decide to force a fight. Because so far, it's SMB who actually wants to force a fight here. Because again, you mentioned they are going to eventually fall off. And there's only so much a Gragas can do to be that peel for you, and as well as that Nami.
Indeed. I mean, the next one I think will be the big scrap around the next Drake when it comes online, which is still just over a minute away, I think, at this point. So nothing ready to jump on just yet, unless they're trying to find an engage in the mid lane. They found the Varus actually as well with the stun coming out of the Panther. Spoke about that engage a lot. Not enough that's going to find them any real damage coming across or anything to threaten them to any great level. No summoners burn, and once again, both teams just walk away. A very patient game between these two teams, Riku.
That's very patient. And so far, what I'm seeing is that SMB is winning this because BAL, of course, they want to win. They want to fight 5v5, but SMB keeps splitting the map with the 1-3-1 setup with the Fiora and as well as Lonely Kid split pushing. Therefore, BAL is at the disadvantage. They can't exactly use the spikes that they have since they're pretty much separated and forced to reply to the split push of Nahkris and Lonely.
Keeping close on these items coming online as well, because that Fiora's hit that 2-item point. Not really super significant for a team fight right now, but this is where you start to see her begin to feel like a real split push presence as well, where she really can start to threaten people. Other side, similar story for the Renekton, who's finished off the Sterak's. Very useful in these next couple of team fights that will kick off. About 30 seconds currently building up towards that Drake coming online. It will be the Infernal, so both teams absolutely want to fight over this. This is going to be huge for them in the late game, and rightly so. You'll see this duo bot lane going back from the mid here to spend up all the gold, all the pennies they've been amassing. This is where you should start to see things really kick off. Bambi going back, I imagine, wanting to use that ultimate into this fight once again. It needs to be a better gauge than just catching out the Wukong like last time.
Yeah, this is a very key moment for them. It is Bambi going to be the only one that can reach the back line against Gandalf, against Katse. We'll have to see if they're able to execute that in comparison to what we've seen in the first Dragon fight. And here we go. Infernal Drake, vision-wise, there's not a lot going on, but BAL seems to be first on the case in this area.
And they've got the control again, right? Vision maybe not so much because of the fact the Crab is on. They're starting to get some down, sweeping out whatever they can. The Crab about to expire as well, so only really going to help the side of SMB for so long. Bottom side, there's a little bit of a skirmish going on between the Gragas and the Renekton. Neither side looking dangerously low right now, in fact, barely at all. And this is where you'll see them start to move up again. Positional advantage with BAL, but in comes the ult from the Pant into the shallow line as well. Great engage coming in. The ult at the Gragas, that's what you're looking for. The defensive package being used by Gandalf to try and escape this one. But this is a wipeout for SMB, walking their way through. The GA being popped out, but this is where you're seeing the power of that farmed up Kai'Sa. They can't quite get the finish off, and they've got a few low members themselves. What? Oh, the double flash coming out. Guys gets hit, but doesn't drop. It's not the same story for Bambi, and the two carries alive for the side of BAL, kiting their way backwards, yet still dealing damage. Good kiting, and no one really walking away a definitive winner, even though SMB did get 2 kills, while BAL only found 1.
Yeah, that piercing arrow was painful from Katse there. And yes, it is SMB struggling to find and pick off one of the carries. And the Grand Starfall was there to, zone out the rest of BAL away from the Dragon. It wasn't utilized to get to the backline because, again, I think it has something to do with the vision. They don't have information, meaning they can only push little bit on near the Dragon, and that piercing arrow was just so painful. If this keeps happening, SMB will continue to lose these fights.
This Corki being saved as well by the package, admittedly, got ulted back towards the SMB team, so we're sat in no man's land, truly screwed in the backline of SMB. Just packages over a couple of walls immediately to safety. And for SMB, you saw that chase game not working in their favor. They were having to run their way through the jungle, around a couple of windy walls. It was never going to be super ideal for them, but worked out perfectly for the side of BAL, with the E coming out from the Varus doing enough to slow them down on the chase through. But again, we're squaring up for this Drake. Ultimates are back online. Bambi, I really wanted to go a bit deeper with these ultimates and try and connect onto the carries, but it's not happening. In they come. Varus taking it away, but they're straight into the backline. Solka, weird little Zhonya's in the backline, but still comes out to start doing a little bit of damage. Trying to do what he can. Nakras is in the backline as well, but can't do enough.
There we go.
The carry's just a little bit too strong, but in come SMB. The cavalry has arrived. They close down 2. They kill the mid lane. They kill the jungle. They kill the support. A much better, more decisive fight for Supermassive Blaze.
Exactly, that's the way to go. Grand Starfall into Gandalf. That is the perfect setup that SMB has been waiting for. And just as you mentioned, jungle gone, support, and one of the 80 carries. That means it is going to be an easy Baron for SMB to take.
You say easy. It's time to square up to come back in and go for the contest on this one. We've got the barrier still available on the Varus if desired. Nothing ready for the Renekton outside of a flash. But they could try and get a little bit cheeky with this one if they want. Ult coming through, just to give them some idea as to what's going on. They really want to try and steal this away, but interrupted by the Nami ultimate. Won't be able to do enough. They secure it away, and an amazing Gragas ult comes through and knocks both members back towards his team. And this is going to be 2 other kills alongside the Baron coming in for Supermassive. 10 and 5 and a 9k gold lead assembling.
Yeah, that is a big, big bonus. Not only getting Baron, but also more death timers for BAL side. That means they have more space to, you know, not go back and reset, but push through more of these towers. Nice bubble.
One guy neglected there. That's burning through a tank, let's not forget as well, because the Wukong is the front line for this team. He's being burnt through in a couple of abilities, a couple of autos coming out of, say, Tulkas. There is a problem. Who, speaking of, has got basically no mana left. Here, Nakras is the one looking to step in and start trying to bring down this tower. No Baron buff on his side because of how he died or wasn't around in the prior fight. But still, good pressure being shown by the side of Supermassive. Barely any towers down. In fact, no towers down for the other side.
And it all started from here, too. There's the Grand Starfall and the Tidal Wave knockup. And the funnel of Bambi to, again, to Gandalf and the Killer Instinct to penetrate the backline was just so perfect. Therefore, the awkward thing was, you know, Gariban and Knight had to go all the way around to join the carries, but it was pretty much too late. And they are definitely rewarded with this Baron. Nice cast coming from Lonely Kid and basically getting 2 bonus kills off of that.
Well, they've already found themselves a tower in the top lane and mid lane. It's like we come back from a replay and the game state has just completely changed. They've got themselves 2 towers. That's kind of what you're looking for. Man, there are so many Lord of the Rings references in this game. It's wonderful. Bambi ulting enough to the side as well. Looking towards the bottom tower now is the next one that they can only focus on. There are no other ones standing. Won't have enough minions around to make sure they can 100% clear it out, but the pressure is on. And very little else that the side of BAL can do to push them back here. That gold lead ballooning up to about 14,000 recoup.
Yeah, a little bit of good news. They do have wave clear from Gandalf and from Katze, but at the same time, this is just a lot. This is just a big lead.
It's massive. Incoming the engage as well to see what they can do. Package being used aggressively for the first time in a couple of fights, but great ult coming out of the Kaiser. Chasing, flashing, trying to connect onto the Corki, but can't quite find it. And now out of mana, this is where SMB need to be careful. They're tanking up this tower. They really want to bring it down. We'll finally get there. All 3 taken out. They may pay the price of the Gragas, but he walks away on low HP. SMB, they've got what they came for. All 3 towers, all the pressure in the world. Now they can afford to breathe for a few minutes, collect any objectives they want. I'm looking towards the Elder, thinking about the Baron. Once those are on side, it's going to be game over for BAL unless they can pull off something incredible.
Yeah, so far SMB not buying any sort of teleports, even though we get to see deep vision in the base of BAL. So SMB is just going to play it safe. They just want to play it calculated and just aim for this Elder Drake to spawn. And for BAL, just as you mentioned, they get a little bit of that breathing space, get the buffs to be able to farm a little bit, and get space to maybe potentially try to contest the Elder Drake. But if they take too much time, we know that Nakras will just split push and end the game.
That's the big concern, right? I mean, look, top wave's pushing in, bottom wave's being pushed into. They're almost sat in a 1-3-1. Awkward to see a tank Gragas up there by himself doing that work, by the way. But one, you're not going to complain about all too much. The sideways going in mean that the defenders do need to be careful here and be ready to pull back. So much so that it sits as Tulkas can just basically solo this Drake. He ulted onto the Drake because why the hell not? Didn't want Tulkas to take all the glory for himself, of course. And now they can go for the Baron. They can shove it in and then look for the end.
Yeah, it was just a smite secure coming from Bambi there. I thought it was going to be used to just scare Gandalf once more in the mid lane since he was a little bit pushed forward. But this is lonely. Split pushing. Uh-oh. Spec.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I mean, the engage. Look at the damage going on Spec as well. The ult coming out. Doesn't have the decoy to burn through here as well. Melted through their front line. The Janna flashing away. Not the best ult use in the world, but they're just going to charge their way through. Nakras has hit the late game and is melted through a couple. Almost goes down, but they should find themselves yet another finish off here. Gandalf in no man's land. The stun a little bit early, but it doesn't matter. A killing spree for Toolcast. A game one being won by Supermassive Blaze in emphatic fashion.
What a finish. They struggled a little bit in the early game with the 2 dragon fights, but at the end of the day, they found their target. Bambi was able to grant Starfall into the backline, able to find Gandalf, and after that, it has been a balloon of 8k gold lead into the Baron.
So much work being done by Bambi. We spoke about the Pantheon over the last few days, Riku. You're seeing it shine up again here and have fantastic impact in the mid-game. And really, we never had a chance to see Spec fight his way back into the game on that. Wukong was always on the back foot, always sat behind, and that mid-game farming for Toolcast because of the space given by the Pantheon, absolutely magical. Now, from what I understand, you've got us a little clip to play back, one that you liked in that game, Riku. So why don't you take us over to the drawing board and show us what it is that you enjoyed so much in that game?
Yeah, here we go. This is, I believe, the dragon fight here. Really nice tidal wave, by the way, coming from guys here. And the following bubble as well. That's a 4-man bubble. Imagine with the AoEs and everything. But it still doesn't change the fact that Gandalf and Katze were pretty much safe to free hit, to land all the AoEs in the world as well. So this is a struggle. Being in this choke point against Katze and Gandalf in this scenario is gonna really hurt you. So I really like this fight over here because it felt like SMB knew what to do, but they just couldn't find, BAL in the back line there. And it was just, it looked, I want to see the piercing arrow here as well with the flash. Piercing arrow, boom! That's a double kill. But at the end of the day, it's SMB finding the right fights at the 3rd dragon fight and then, getting to the Baron and winning the game.
It was beautiful, really well fought, and that Varus ult, didn't see it so much at the time. Incredible, locking down every single member on the other side. However, that is the end of game number 1. A great start coming out for the side of Supermassive, but can they carry on in game 2? Let's get into it. Game 2 then, Riku. Same team, same lineup you saw not too long ago. Supermassive Blaze with a pretty dominant first game, although it wasn't without moments of worry, where BAL did manage to take one 3-0 team fight in the early game. But speaking of the draft though, Riku, anything that you feel needs to change here?
For Supermassive, the same. The 1-3-1, rely on Nakras and Lonely Kid in the side lanes. And for BAL, more, we'll have to see if they decide to go back into the drawing board. Maybe 5v5s, perhaps, considering that is their strength that we saw. Maybe Katze on the Kaisa, maybe. Maybe bring back the Diana from for Gandalf.
Never going to complain about seeing Diana. I'm a filthy Diana main through and through. But the first ban from BAL is going to be the Akali coming out. On the other side, the Ziggs.
Yeah, BAL doesn't want to see Nakras on that Akali again. He had a crazy game the other day as well. Fiora just basically straight up banning out all of Nakras picks over here. Now the Ziggs and the Ahri, just a lot of focus on the mid lane. Again, lots of respect towards Gandalf. So it's looking like a mid lane versus mid lane scary matchup so far. BAL now removing the Gragas. They don't want any sort of red side Gragas, perhaps, where you pick up maybe blank Gragas, AD carry plus Gragas. So now that SMB bans out the Garen, maybe a Renekton pick may also come up on SMB side.
Maybe a Darius, that was banned away in the previous game as well, as there is an option if they so choose, but the Camille that was also banned away has been denied. That Fiora with Nakra is clearly a little bit too much for them. Supermassive again, jumping straight onto that Pantheon. Keep on speaking about this champion right now, seems incredibly oppressive in the early game jungle. Other side, the Camille and the Fiora coming through, so again, leaning in towards that Corki that did do good work, and there's that Darius that I thought we might see.
Well, that means the SMB will think a little bit twice on getting the Renekton as I was finishing my sentence. But the only weak thing is the level 1. After that, if the Renekton survives, it's pretty much stabilized. Now the Kai'Sa getting picked up because it's just so easy to follow up with the Grand Starfall into the tidal wave. You just penetrate straight to the back line, and I feel like this has been SMB's winning formula. Curious to see what Nacris will pick up as BAL decides to pick up this Twisted Fate and the Braum for that disengage.
All right, I quite like it. I mean, the global play, always a big fan. The catch potential with something like a Camille is going to be unbelievable if they manage to shape things up well. The fact that they can just descend into the top lane and basically guarantee that Darius a kill, or even in the bot lane with the Braum, lots of kill potential. I like that we've got some kind of pressure coming out in the early to mid game because that was missing at points. Game is ready though, Riku. Let's get into it. What is it that you are looking forward to most between these two teams in this game?
For Supermassive, I am looking forward to seeing again the Grand Starfall going to Katse or Gandalf. But the thing is, it's not a Janna this time around. It is up against a Braum who will be able to punish you so easily with the passive stacks, with the Winter's Bite, with basically everything. Braum is basically built up against Lonely Kid and Bambi as well. And especially Tulkas. If Tulkas decides to aggressively go for a killer instinct, you may get greeted by a stun. So the 131 is available for BAL as well. We see Knight possibly and Spec split pushing the side lanes, but earlier on, level 5, Gandalf, we are going to be expecting top side visits perhaps, and even tower dives against Lonely Kid.
This could be such an aggressive top lane as well. Thinking back to League PC, Darius versus Renekton, it's a real brawl of the off tanks, and that's what I'm expecting it to turn into. Of course, we'll see that requires some jungler intervention before it gets much bigger, but already at the early level, the grab starting things off at level 2, looking to do something, and now it's Bambi off to the side. That sweeper going away, but well warded coming out from Knight. Just knows Bambi, knows that aggression that we saw in game 1, knows how to prevent it, or at least deter it for now.
Yeah, level 3 is incredibly strong for both Bambi and Lonely Kid. So Knight will have to play a little conservatively for now. When level 5 comes, though, that means Spec can assist.
Oh, the stayed at the stuns there. He can flash away in time if he wants to. He's got his own flash, has the barrier, and he will get away just fine. I can't help but feel if SMB there had layered their stuns a little bit better, that could have been a kill.
Yeah, that definitely could have been a kill. Knight, though, has spent all of his summoner spells, so I feel like Lonely Kid and Bambi will still stick around, like what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you bully him? He's stuck in the tower. He's a juggernaut. He can't go anywhere, and stunned up he shall be. First blood going the way of the Renekton. That is yet again an awesome early game impact coming out of the jungler from Supermassive Blaze.
Yeah, really nicely done. They want to get this this Renekton ahead to be that big bully in the mid game. Now Gandalf is going to try and find Bambi, though, just trying to slow down to buy some time for Spec to arrive and take this Rift Scuttler.
I kind of feel like it's 2 for 1 in the top lane as well, that you're easing the Renekton up into what is normally quite a difficult matchup against the Darius, but also getting yourself snowballing at the same time. And the best thing for Bambi, still got that flash on side, and here is that replay of the tower dive, Riku.
It is the apprehend being used, the Lonely Kid getting the tower aggro, but Bambi was still pretty much very healthy, and Lonely Kid was able to escape a 1-for-1 trade as well. It was pretty close, but it was still clean coming from SMB.
Got the supports both playing around the mid lane here as well, having roamed up, leaving their marksman down in the bot lane to do what they do best, which is sit and farm until 15 minutes and then come and melt some faces. At least that's what Tulkas would have you think, given the previous game. It was about that 15-minute mark when he rocked up with a 1,500 gold lead over some of the enemy carries and absolutely decimated them in fight. At least for now, as things peaceful down, because you know in about 60 seconds' time, that Drake is coming online. You're going to have the Herald coming online. That is where the focus is going to be. Really keen to see a Supermassive Blaze say, forget about the Drake for now. Our attention instead is going to be solely on getting that Herald because we want the early tower pressure.
I think it's possible. We saw how Spec moved a little bit towards the lane gang, but decided to get that reset, be nearer towards the dragon in case SMB decides to take this Mountain Drake. And it is possible. Gandalf can activate Destiny and basically tower dive alongside with Spec and eliminate Lonely Kid, making it a 4v5, making it a comfortable Rift Herald take, getting First Blood Tower, and then getting all that gold for Knight as well for him to snowball, again, get that resets as well. Because again, Renekton, Darius, they basically have a similar story of having to spin out of control. Now the biggest question is, will that be Knight? Will that be Lonely? We'll have to see if the opportunities open up.
And Bambi's getting engaged onto here as well. You've got a Camille with ultimate. There should be no getting out of this one, but flashes towards his team. The safety is provided. BAL will opt to back away. A pretty crucial flash to take down, though. The Pantheon with no flash means no flash, instant stun engage, which could mean that a couple of these carries on the side of BAL are a little bit safer in this fight.
Yeah, that's something that Bambi would love to have in the dragon fight. Just as you mentioned, flash engage, or after the Grand Starfall, you flash out. Because again, a Pantheon, if you go in, there's really no way out. And Destiny now being popped.
Where it goes is the big question. Or towards the top
Rift
side,
Herald.
apparently. Just to contest and stop this being done, I think, more than anything else. They're not really looking to take it away themselves just yet. Sort of torn between, do we go for the Drake or do we go for the Herald? We're not really too sure. SMB aren't quite sure where they need to match, but just like in the previous game, they're happy to be passive and play back a little bit, but without the Grand Starfall coming in from Bambi, they can't really stand up to contest this, especially when that package is online on the other side. They immediately run down towards bottom river to try and get this Drake down, but something tells me with the side of BAL chasing them down, this isn't going to be as simple as they would like. They acknowledge as much and just say, look, forget about it. It's not worth us getting our house cleaned out this early on.
Yeah, it's a really good call. The fact that Lonely Kid was way on top side.
I mean, Nakres gets ulted out as well. Can't on the other side of it, the tidal wave coming across, not quite connecting anywhere. Tulkas going pretty deep. He's in the front line. That's no place for a carry. He understands that and flashes away. But this has been the clean that they were looking for. BAL, they were just waiting for Supermassive to take a bite. And my God, did they try and chew him down.
That is definitely the dive that we have been waiting for, with as well with the Twisted Fate. They even get rewarded with the Rift Herald plus this dragon. I think that's super duper massive. And with that, SMB again, unfortunately unable to find the setups. They get baited with the important ults before anything could happen.
Right, being finished up for Gandalf as well. About that 6-minute mark, man, the wizard has finally found his staff. That's what he's looking for to try and do some damage. I'm thinking now about these next couple of fights, though, and looking at the difference in this game compared to the previous one, you've got about a 3k gold lead starting to assemble, and really, a lot of it came off the back of this engage recoup.
Now, this could possibly balloon up. I mean, it was just a very, very clean dive coming from BAL there with a Hextech ultimatum, and then with all the rockets and the stuns coming from Gandalf and Katse. And, you know, Nami wasn't there, guys wasn't there, so therefore the disengage that SMB needed at the time wasn't gonna help at all.
Absolutely not. Again, turn your eyes up towards that gold at the top of the screen. That 3k lead for BAL is the one that I'm watching. We're at points where they were ahead in the previous game, let's not forget, but Supermassive did manage to pull themselves back, and even when Supermassive were behind, they never really kept that gap to the max of about 2,000 gold. Whether or not that story stays the same in this game will depend a lot on how these next few minutes play out. But I do expect a little bit of peacetime here. There won't be any crazy fights, at least I hope not, before we see the next Drake starting to come online.
Infernal Drake, yeah, that's going to be a very juicy target that SMB and BAL would love to have. And yeah, it is quite similar to what we've seen in game number 1. You know, SMB always getting caught out, or rather not finding the fights that they want. Destiny, where is that going? Oh, nah. Once they saw Geist, they were like, hey, let's not pursue this. That's a Nami. That's the bubble. That's the tidal wave. We might get punished here. The fact that they don't have deep vision as well makes them second guess their choice and decision.
And I think really in a way, if you see the solo Croc there, you think, all right, there's a new pair of slippers there. Like, we're in a 3 versus 1. One of us has to go without. Speaking of, the engagement for the Croc is now coming, and they definitely want that crocodile bag.
Starfall.
In comes the Grand Starfall on
He's
top,
alive.
and enough to keep him alive. No, the Ignite ticking through and bringing him down. Garabin walking away as well on a slither of HP, but it's still the kill that BAL came in looking for. That again accelerates their lead now up to about 4,000 gold.
Yeah, that felt like a 1v1 in the bot lane, though. A little bit close. But I want to get back on my point at top side. It felt like SMB wanted a bait.
I mean, still want to try and go for something here as well. Shockwave coming out into a bubble. Great CC chain coming out against Spec, who has no way of walking out of that one alive. Knight left without a friend in the top lane.
BAL wanting to engage another fight. Got a little bit greedy, I suppose. Spec didn't have any ult there, so they couldn't lock anyone down. And Nakres was pretty much nearby. Got the Shockwave and is able to punish BAL being a little bit too forward there. And with that, I feel like it's now equalized-ish. It is just, what, a 2k gold lead in favor of BAL here. Let's take a look at that again. Hextech ultimatum. This is a really interesting bait coming from SMB here. They knew that Bambi and Nakres was just on their way back, but the damage was just too much, and I feel like they didn't anticipate it. And with, oh, it was Spec. that engaged on this fight. But Nacris was just nearby. It was an easy shockwave with just putting the ball on to Bambi after the stun.
You want to give a shout out to guys as well in both of those clips. You just saw phenomenal bubbles coming through the chain onto the Camille in top lane. And then the prior fight to that was the double bubble that really helped try and keep the Renekton alive, although ultimately didn't do them any damn favor. Either way, Nacris finding himself a little bit overextended and burnt out here. Gandalf and Knight, the ones walking away, the benefactors.
Yeah, Nacris just wanted to get First Blood Tower, maybe, but of course there is that threat of Gandalf just being able to get that teleport from the Destiny here. And we'll see. Well, not First Blood Tower, because the mid lane is already down, by the way. And I mean, trying to get another tower down, rather. We'll see 16 seconds. What is wrong with me today? 16 seconds on the clock before the Baron spawns. But of course, the important thing is the Infernal Drake.
And again, no, it's BAL in control. Surely the ult comes in. Grand Starfall across as much of the team as possible. Most of them sidestepping in. They want to burn the hell out of this Pantheon. He's in no man's land. Does he go for the smite? Does he steal it? No, he doesn't.
Nope.
It's the Corki that takes it away. Smited down to about 9 HP there, I think. Ever so slightly short. And now that Bambi's off the board, they can turn their attention towards Baron if they feel brave.
Yeah, 19 seconds on the clock for Bambi to respawn. And I feel like with this chase, it could possibly be a long take. So BAL decided not to risk it and just go for another tower down. It's going to be a 4v5 situation. We'll see if SMB decides to fight this.
They want to force something because they know they've got the numbers advantage and there's not really any risk of Bambi being involved just yet. He has now respawned as well, and sure enough, SMB are backing away. Trying to play it a little more passively here. Don't want to get sucked into a hyper-aggressive engage too early on. But that deficit has now grown to 5,500 gold. BAL finding the opportunities to catch out these members of SMB and accelerate their lead ever further forward.
It is definitely possible with how much control that they have. Again, BAL has been doing a great job maneuvering around the engages coming from Bambi. And for SMB, they want to get the perfect setup. They want, what, the Tidal Wave, the Killer Instinct, and as well as the Grand Starfall to find Katse. He is the biggest member of BAL. 300 already has the Solari Charge Blade in his back. And meanwhile, the Cannon Minion doing a lot of work here with just 100 HP on this one.
Should be enough to finish it off as well. One more shot, maybe two. Oh, you're kidding me.
The next wave. The next wave's gonna do it, maybe.
Next wave should get it, and that's of course the Camille goes sprinting up to save the tower. God knows. But you were right. I did want to touch on the gold diff. 1,500 gold lead in the mid and a 2k gold in the marksman position. That is absolutely huge. Elsewhere, not huge differences in gold, but they're not the positions that matter. It is all about these damage-based positions. You can already see at this point, like you say, the Corki heading in towards that third item already, whilst on the other side, Kai'Sa still only really sat at the one.
Gandalf.
Running in one catch coming in. Grand Starfall coming in on top for a bit of support, but maybe in no man's land here. Bambi might be in a spot of bother. Does he have flash? Yes, he does. Gets himself away to safety. But again, another counter engage. It doesn't work out. And oh my God, you've gone straight into a Corki. That's not the man you want to sit in the front line of. They're tanking the tower. They're going for the dive. It's a triple kill for Katse. He's going to be absolutely huge on his next back. And I do wonder, are we going to see any potential fight back for Supermassive Blaze? Because I simply don't see it in this game, Riku.
It's really difficult. Katse is just massive. He is unstoppable right now. And the fact that, again, the Braum is always by his side. It all started here with Gandalf getting that gold card onto Tulkas. Therefore, every single summoner spell is down. This is a fight that they're not prepared for. SMB cannot fight this back. The fact that Katse comes from the side, and he's just massive. The Solari Charge Blade Essence Reaver is just already enough. What more once he comes back into that third item, Infinity Edge, which will be soon.
Burning through them. Doesn't matter if it's a Braum with the shield up, they'll still sit there and happily gattle away through the shield. You are right, look at it now. 12,500 gold. No one else on the other team really approaching 10k anytime soon. He goes back and spends. He is going to be huge come the next main objective fight.
The good news... Oh.
Run, lonely kid. Don't be so lonely. Act up to your name. Have no friends. Leave the social environment you find yourself in. Walks away alive, but with the ultimate being burnt out. Didn't have barrier, didn't have flash. It's still not a great outcome for Supermassive Blaze.
Yeah, they don't have space to work with at the moment. They still have to wait for BAL to start the Baron, perhaps, and make sure that they stay alive as fives. And I think the good news so far for SMB is that Katse is the only fed member of the team. If they kill him, they have a better chance to survive and even win a fight. And they do have the tools to do so. Bambi with the stuns for the Grand Starfall again, penetrating the back line. Basically, it's a fight here.
Knight wants this. He's like, yeah, you want to fight? I'm more than happy to do so. His E is down for the Pantheon. He's been melted out. Bambi, as well as he played in the first game, I think being a little bit over-aggressive here and not respecting his boundaries as a Pantheon in a mid-game that has not taken off in the early. And now it should be a free Baron coming in for the side of BAL. Great bubble again coming out of Guys into a combo, but Gandalf can just flash away and keep himself alive. Now it's down to Guardian, it's down to Knight. What can they do? Away goes the Baron, and now it's about turning this into a fight. Another amazing bubble. Guys has been landing them all game long, but sadly, you can only bubble so many times here to give your team an advantage. Everyone else is low on the other side. Should still be the kill coming through. Yet another triple kill for the Corki of Katse. And SMB, I think in game 3, will be thinking about maybe you've got to ban that one away.
Yeah, that's going to be consuming one ban, leaving one open. And yeah, Katse is just massive. No one can threaten him. And I think the struggle is Supermassive, every single time that they want to engage with the Grand Starfall, everybody else from the team are far away. And let's take a look back at Geist's bubble. It's amazing. You use the shockwave after. Yeah, but then you know your two member. Yeah, every single bubble. It's just massive from Geist. It's just too bad there's no follow up because Katse is just so far ahead.
That is the battle. It feels like you could do everything wrong in this game, or everything right, sorry, in this game, and he'd still shoo you apart. That's just how far ahead he is. Now we're looking towards the bottom side. 3 cannons plugging away on this tower, joined, of course, by 3 champions. Now turning their attention in towards this first inhibitor tower. That will be what really starts to sound the death knell for the side of SMB, which will put us at 1-on-1 and basically reset the series into a best of 3. Katz is still here as well. What can they do? Look at how much damage Lonely Kid takes trying to go in. He can do nothing. Great shockwave, but the scaling and damage simply is not there for Nacres. This first tower is going to fall down, and now the attentions must turn towards top or mid. But already, again, you can feel the end of the game on the horizon, Riku.
Yeah, this is just a massive, massive lead for BAL. And SMB, unfortunately, just has to watch this happen and think through the future. Think to the game number 3. What are their solutions to face off Katse's threat? Especially, look at them now. They're going in.
All the way in. This one ain't even going to be close. It's going to be a slaughter, Riku. They're decimating the members on the side of Supermassive Blaze. The Nexus is laid bare. It will fall down. Game 2 going the way of BAL Esport.
And there, BAL Katse, he's legendary in this game, and no one was able to answer him from Supermassive. And so excited to see if we get to see this Corki pick once more. Especially Katse had a phenomenal game in game number 2.
I won't lie, I got no idea what my camera's doing right now, Riku. We'll take it as it goes. It appears to be frozen. I'll sort it out after this. But let's take a look at some of the highlights from that game. One of the ones looking at it that, again, first game was all about Bambi. This next one, though, everything coming down to Katse and the Corki.
Yeah, they were focusing a lot on Lonely Kid, which is, again, what they wanted to do. They wanted him to shine. He wanted them, Lonely Kid, to basically be that bully as the Renekton. But the biggest problem is the rest of the lanes pretty much suffered. You've got Tolkas getting dove upon, and as well as this fight in the mid lane. I feel like that double kill in this particular fight just started the reign of Katse as the Corki. And again, the Grand Starfalls, unfortunately, it wasn't enough because there is no follow-up. Even though Bambi was in too deep, the rest of the squad wasn't exactly nearby to follow that up.
Absolutely. One of the ones that you just look at and just think, what could they have really done to fight back against that? And to me, Bambi, as we mentioned, did get caught out a lot in the early to mid game, just finding himself in spots where he was never really going to be able to war his way back in, already too far behind, and the rest of BAL just playing it right. Don't go over aggressive, don't over press it, let SMB be the ones that make the mistake and get the clean win.
Yeah, and exactly, that's exactly what happened. I feel like, Gandalf as well did an amazing job just baiting out key ults from SMB with the Destiny. And it's just such a worth thing, especially if you already baited out the Grand Starfall, the Shockwave as well. And it's just amazing to watch, especially Nacres was so, or rather not Nacres, it was so huge in this game. Katse, rather.
Awesome. Well, I hear game 3 is pretty much ready. So how about we get ready to jump into it, Riku? Back once again, Riku and the Shadow Man, Desertu himself, ready for game number 3. SMB coming up against BAL. In case you missed these first 2 games, you've missed quite a spectacle. Bambi running away with the first game, Katse in game number 2 on the Corki, an absolute terror. Now the attention turns, of course, towards this pick and ban phase. What changes will we see? Will Katse get banned away? That's the question that I am excited to see. So let's get straight into pick and ban, Riku.
I feel like the Pantheon is starting to lose its magic here. And I love the combination though. Nami tidal wave for the rest of your team to follow up with a Grand Starfall. But at that point, it feels like it was messy in the execution for game number 2. Now we're looking at similar bans so far. BAL and SMB just focusing on the mid lane, focusing on Gandalf and focusing on Nacris as well. And now the Darius, I think this is such a big respect ban for sure against Knight. So now we won't get to see, Lonely Kid struggle a little bit unless BAL decides to fall back into that Garen pickup. And now there you see it. There we have it, as we see Katsu's killer pick in game number 2 getting banned out.
Also the Camille on the other side too taken away, so quite a jumble of the bans. Clearly some threats in that prior game, but look at what made its way through. The Ziggs that has had nerf after nerf after nerf, yet is still a contested pick in the pick and ban, more often than not drawing a ban, finally makes its way through, and SMB will pick that one up.
Yeah, it's just really good. You're able to basically propel the game, accelerate the game with fast tower takes, and as well as having a very strong mid to late game with just a lot of bombs that are incredibly painful. Now SMB going through a different route. They're getting this Lulu. They're getting this Xin Zhao, meaning we could possibly see an Ashe coming in. It's basically similar to what we saw back in the GK composition yesterday for BAL. Twisted Fate once more. For Gandalf over here, it has been the semi-global ult, as a Nami could possibly finish this draft for BAL.
I don't hate it. I like on the side of SMB that we've got quite a bit of protection. The Wild Growth, the Polymorph, the Xayah Featherstorm, the Xin Zhao knockback, a lot of tools to deal with the Pantheon if they're worried about the global presence or pressure into the late game. But on the other side, it's the Olaf coming out. We've seen that picked up a couple of times in the top lane and just rampage its way through enemy teams. Straight into the back line, the focus on the Ziggs or on the Xayah. They're going to need it here to get onto these 2 pretty elusive carries, should we say, Riku?
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. Xayah with a self-peel, Wild Growth for that secondary safety. We'll see how BAL deals with a lot of those disengage.
Well, game is ready, so let's get into it then, shall we? It's time for game number 3.
And there we go. With the composition that we're seeing right now, big semi-global ults on the side of BAL. You got Knight, Gandalf with big level 5s. We're hoping to see that sort of flourish, possibly, maybe in the mid lane, maybe at the top lane, rather. That's going to be a support Gragas that will help assist Katse. Get that peel on, get that explosive cast to dismantle the formation of SMB. We're going to be seeing big, strong level 5s and potentially a snowball coming in from BAL. SMB, though, we'll see with this 1-3-1 setup. Bambi, of course, and as well as Lonely Kid with the split push. And very, very scary 3-man with a lot of range with Nacris here on the Ziggs. And the disengage if things get a little bit too sticky with that Wild Growth on the Lulu.
Absolutely. Lots to look forward to. I'm somewhat surprised to see that Pantheon in the top lane. You prefer it when it can just appear out of the jungle anywhere at a moment's notice, but here it's about the scrap on the top side. Where I get a bit nervous about that for both picks is about the potential fall off. I know the level 5 is kind of a power point for both when they can have either a big engage in the Renekton in lane and become the lane bully that we all know he can be, or if it is the global presence coming out of the back of the Pantheon. So I'm looking again maybe towards the Olaf to be the one that has a big impact. It's Bambi on the bottom side and the Xin wanted to be the one that strikes first, but this ward should come through and there shouldn't really be too much to worry about. Can they catch onto him here? Engage won't come through. Garibin, sorry, just dashing away.
Yeah, SMB is just going to focus on that Rift Scuttler take. It's just going to be a trade of Scuttlers for SMB and BAL. And yeah, when we look at BAL's composition, usually when we see an Olaf, we usually see it paired with a Seraphine or a Lulu maybe, or an Orianna. Something that can help the rest of the team to catch up to spec when Ragnarok is activated. But everybody else pretty much has some air quote big map gap closer, I suppose, with Gandalf for the Destiny, Knight with the Grand Starfall, and the Killer Instinct from Kadze. The only person that may have a hard time sort of catching up is Gariban here on this Gragas.
Keep a close eye and see how things evolve in that area. Yep, top side again is the one I'm really excited to see evolve, but as of now, nothing too explosive up there. But as they start approaching that level 5 point, that's where we can start getting pretty excited about things. I'm looking towards the mid lane as well. I mean, Ziggs, we haven't really seen play so much in competitive play for the longest time because, again, always banned away despite the continuous successive nerfs. What's your take? Have you seen it much out there in SEA, or has it been banned away off from there and never really seen the light of day either?
I think it's something. It has something. It depends on the teams that want to be a little bit more on the macro-centric type of things, or do they want to explode at the early game and take that early lead and potentially snowball? And the thing about the Twisted Fate and Ziggs matchup, it's a very, very classic matchup where if Gandalf destinies and doesn't do any, isn't successful with that gank perhaps with their jungler, then it's Nokris being able to punish with possibly First Blood Tower as well. So I think that is something Gandalf should take into account and make sure he keeps his lane in check.
Alrighty. Oh, BAL, sorry, I always say BAL whenever I see the name just pop up. It's Spec, sorry. The Aussie in the game, the one in the Turkish battlefield, it feels like, squaring off to the right-hand side here, hoping to go for a dive onto Lonely Kid. They have the option available, and in comes the dive.
Destiny.
There is a bit of support, but the Ziggs is here as well. This could go horribly wrong. The ult coming in, but can they turn it all the way through? The Olaf going dangerously low, but not enough to get finished out. Knight forced to flash away, chased down by that bouncing bomb, but not going to be enough to kill him either. 2 members on the side of BAL walking away with about 100 HP.
Yeah, it's super tempting to get the honey fruit, but in exchange you get the slow, meaning once you heal up but you get slowed, that means you get more tower aggro, especially if you don't have flash already. So that was a little bit close for BAL there. BAL wanted to get a pick before the Infernal Drake spawned, but are unsuccessful, meaning SMB, getting that reset, is able to get 5v5 on this fight here for the best dragon in the game at the moment.
Yeah, the Infernal. That's what the dream one to start off with there. Question is whether or not Spec can get through the charge of this and get it down. Should be able to, but in comes the Pantheon. Everyone's piling into the pit, but who walks away? The winner, it's SMB with the smite coming through, but now the secondary prize, the bogey prize, the kills that you can find off the back of it. First blood coming out, the Xayah Featherstorm coming through to keep him alive, and away he will dance. It could have turned into 2. Oh, the bouncing bomb almost finding the Olaf at the back as well, but in the end it will be a 1-for-1, but it's a kill onto Tulkas with that first blood that gets me nervous for the later stages of the game.
Yeah, that can spell disaster if Tulkas is able to transition that lead even more. Plus, the Infernal Drake is a big bonus for them to get big damage for against BAL, rather. And for BAL, I think it's still a good call. They didn't overcommit, knowing that the Infernal Drake was practically lost. Knight was already down for the count. Let's take a look at that again. There was an attempt on the steal coming from the Pantheon, but unfortunately it is Bambi is able to get that secure. Tulkas had a lot of space for the auto attacks, and of course the fact that Featherstorm is still available made things a little bit harder for BAL to punish the positioning that Tulkas had, being very pretty far forward.
Absolutely. Things have got to develop a bit further forward from here now as things start to heat up. Only about 400 gold between the two teams after 5.5 minutes of play, so neither side really charging into the lead. That first Drake is the one that you really be paying attention to in the later stages of the game for Supermassive Blaze, as that really will set them ablaze with a damage bonus that, of course, it gives later on the game goes. Herald being dropped in the top side here as they look to accelerate it further forward. Knight now the one being dived onto. Question is if he has the E online, can he dodge most of this damage? Apparently no is the answer. Can't come out in time. They get the kill and no doubt will get the first tower. A massive explosion into the lead for the side of Supermassive Blaze.
I even tried a Grand Starfall out of there. But his SMB, with a lot of damage, with the stuns coming from Lonely Kid, is able to cancel and eliminate, rather, Knight. They get a big bonus as well with the tower getting destroyed. That's 2 towers across the map that SMB are going to be happy in taking. Means more space. BAL, unfortunately, is gonna have that limited space. I believe the red, whoa, what's happening? Blue and red buff are gonna be the blue-red buff quadrants of BAL are going to be very susceptible to that deep vision that SMB is going to plant later on.
All right, well, things need to keep on heating up here. And this is that dive that we saw come through just a second ago. It was pretty Clear cut, to be honest. I think as soon as they realized Knight didn't have his E online anymore, he was basically done. Even tried to get the ult off the back of it, so that's also on cooldown. Not the best outcome for Knight, that's for sure.
Yeah, getting that Grand Starfall off cooldown, but good thing though, not a lot of objectives that they could take. But Lonely Kid spots this out. There was a ward over there by the riverside, but if he doesn't get out, there's gonna be a third one joining the party.
Maybe it is. Potential dive coming in, but I think Lonely Kid a bit more aware this time around. In fact, no, wants to go back in and really take the fight to them as he has support coming through. No stun coming through, but the nice knockback coming in from the Greg. They pile in, layering up the CC, but the Wild Growth comes out. Now the question is, what more damage can they do? Tolkas in the front line trying to bring down Spec, who flashes away. They've left him for dead. The Gragas isolated and alone gets burnt down, even with the flash on side.
Yeah, Gary Ben was just the sacrificial lamb. A little bit worried there for Tolkas because he was very, again, a bit far forward next to an Olaf. So that could have been disastrous, but they directed their focus more on killing Gary Ben and are satisfied with that. It's really, really difficult when you're up against Lonely Kid, Dominus on top of the Wild Growth. He's going to be very, very tanking, is able to soak a lot more than what BAL has expected.
I got good news, by the way, Riku. I've returned from the Shadow Realm. The camera has been restored. All is well in the world.
That's great to hear, Dezichu. But let's take a look at that replay there. Again, it's the big, tanky Lonely Kid with a Wild Growth and the Dominus. And basically, Knights and as well as the Olaf decided to just run away. Not worth staying. But here we go. Air Drake now has spawned, now has been started by SMB.
This is where the scrap should come through that you're looking for it. This time it's SMB in control of the pit itself. But another ult coming back across. It's basically the same as last time, Riku, but a slightly different outcome because it's Bambi tearing his way through the backline on the Xin Zhao. They've got BAL on the run. Melted down. Knight, the last one standing. It's going to be an ace coming through for the side of SMB as this game looking much different to the second.
Yeah, it's much cleaner execution coming from SMB. And now they get the Air Drake. They will get also 2 towers. This gives a lot of space and room for SMB to set up for that Baron in the next few seconds. And for BAL, this has been the second attempt to aim the Starfall to steal instead of pursuing the backline, I suppose. Nacris was in a very beautiful position to just rain down bombs from a safe spot. And again, Tolkas, even though pretty low, he's still able to chase down, get 3 kills off of this, 2 kills off of this, and his lead is going to balloon up even more.
Ooh, I mean, Wild Growth, Xin Zhao charging at you after splitting you all up with the ultimate. It's never going to be a pretty outcome. But Bambi, not so much on the early aggressor, but that mid. Well, it's not really like he's not strong in the early game. Level 3, he is a great duelist, but it's really into that mid to late game where the Wild Growth Xin Zhao really comes to light. Frontlining, hacking people down, dispersing them, really tanky himself. There's just so much that works in favor of the Xin. And once his work is done, let's not forget that Stone Plate is also on side to hold things up for his team whilst they do the damage around him. So it's looking good for Bambi in this game. Currently set at 2-0-5. But as I mentioned earlier on, my eyes always turn towards Tolkas. We saw in game 1 what he can do on the Kaiser, and now he's about to push over that 10k gold mark along with Bambi. No one on the other side even remotely close to catching up to that.
Yeah, exactly. There's just 2 beefy frontliners when they ult, like the Dominus from Lonely Kid there, and serving as their frontline for that setup for Tolkas over here. And now we get to see SMB planning a little bit of vision here and there to guard the next juicy objective that SMB could possibly take. I mean, so far, SMB has been winning all these fights, and BAL, unfortunately, not finding the right opportunities, especially we're heading into the mark where it's so difficult to take advantage of the Grand Starfall, or Pantheon rather, falling a little bit off. Gandalf will have a hard time finding Destiny as well.
Oh, I mean, Lonely Kid, the one potentially being caught out, but slices and dices his way over the wall to safety. So although it could have been a potential way back into this game for BAL, ultimately nothing coming of it. Bambi, again, is the big threat I'm looking at here. I mean, look at his items, right? Sterex, the Cleaver, going in towards what looks to be a GA coming online. It's going to be so hard to stop him.
Yeah, it's going to be practically unkillable, and BAL will really have no choice but to face him whenever he's going to just try to bother the backline. Bother Katse here, bother Gandalf over here on that Twisted Fate. And now we get to see more items on the board. Staff of Flowing Water achieved, acquired by guys over here. So a lot of these cooldowns are going to be much, much faster, especially, again, these combo-centric champions that we're seeing on the board, like the Renekton, like this Xin Zhao as well.
Going about Achieved, I think it's about right. It's an achievement you have to unlock to get Staff of Flying Water.
That
it's
is
pretty
true.
busted. In 2 items online now, the stim that's giving over to say to the Zaya, even to the Xin somewhat as well. Going to be an absolute terror to walk through, and of course on the other side you're not really going to see that coming out of the Gragas in the supportive role, still looking to build in towards being pretty tanky in the mid to late stages of the game. You can see based on how BAL are playing, they're quite scared. I can't remember the last time I've seen a BAL member really step foot inside the river. As I say that, Spec is going to do just that, but they've very much been penned inside their own jungle for the most part, only now given a brief reprise by the fact there are 2 members of SMB back in base, the other 3 all converging on the enemy blue buff here to steal it away ahead of this Drake coming online.
Yeah, they're really afraid. So far, every single fight has been in favor of SMB. Now, Destiny being popped just to spot out where the rest of SMB is going to be, to make sure that the tower take at topside is going to be safe and sound. And now, no contest whatsoever for this dragon. And now SMB can look into applying more vision at the Baron area and see if they can set that up. Possibly bait out BAL to a fight that they're not prepared for. Especially, again, SMB are in the lead. They've got 3 dragons in their pockets. But looks like they're just going to utilize Nacris to keep taking down towers and get more space.
Well, let's look at it and go, okay, smart call by BAL. You knew they'd take the Drake, so why not focus down the tower to get some gold in your back pocket? But on the other side for SMB, 3 Drakes online, Elder being the next one. The lead they've already got sat at about 10k or so. I'd be feeling very nervous if I was BAL right now, because the next focus surely is going to be that Baron. Sure enough, 4 members of SMB all moving up towards that top side of the map, whereas BAL staying as a tight cluster, not wanting to get isolated and caught off, moving as a group of 4 in the mid.
The mini good news is that there's a little bit of deep vision, that one teeny tiny ward over near that tri-brush. So that could be an opening that Knight can take, perhaps?
No. No, you can't take the fight. No.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe SMB, once they decided to start this Baron, that could be Knight's information or Ghost Signal rather, but now that ward has expired, so now it's a very, very dark area that BAL not be able to confidently reach. Nicely done, Featherstorm, to dodge the gold card.
And also blocking out the recall coming out of Knight, which just staggers him away for a couple more seconds. Has to go back and recall. Doesn't feel like a lot, but it is still 15 seconds of his time being wasted there through the 2 recalls and the path back towards the base. So an okay outcome where, again, they are being slowly pressured in. You now see that the ward line for SMB starting to move up inside the enemy jungle. So a couple of bits of vision on the top side, mainly because of that Baron being online. I do wonder if SMB are trying to avoid taking the coin flip here for the Baron and saying, look, we need to hang around it. We don't want to concede it over to BAL, but we'd much rather just wait for that next Drake to come up and have that be our big focus.
Yeah, BAL is just waiting for SMB to start this Baron. They are going to be waiting for them to take that bait, and or not.
Just get out of dodge, mate. Just keep away is the only way you can describe it. Every time someone steps forward, they're being chunked down to about half HP in a second or so. It's ludicrous how untanky this team is right now, because the tankiest member you've got really, you're looking towards the Pantheon with that Randuin's on side. A Pantheon is going tank. That's how you know there's a little bit of a problem. Now we're putting this focus in towards trying to get down the Baron, but in come the ultimates, the 2 globals in play, and the engage might come through. Off to the side, it was the Renekton going down to about half HP, but it's the wrong target. The carry's in the back untouched. The flash forward, the smite comes through. That's 3 out of 3 smite fights won by Bambi this game. They get the Baron. They find Spec going down. Can they crush a couple more? The answer apparently is yes, as the wind becomes lightning, becomes a spear, and brings down yet another. The 3rd kill flies through. This could be the game end if they can carry on, but another flash away. BAL are left with 2, but definitely not left with any towers once this team are done with the base.
Yeah, Nacris was just busy in the mid lane. It was a 4v5.
The end of the game likely boiling in here as well. The sprint down towards the Nexus. Forget about pushing in the side lanes. They've done all they needed to close it out. SMB taking us up to 2-1 and to series points.
Yeah, this is match point for Supermassive Blaze, and what a commanding fight. What a commanding game number 2 or 3 rather for them, and it is just very confident in every single point of the game.
It's just one of them where I think the confidence built up. And for Bambi, it was interesting seeing him away from the Pantheon, like you say, getting on something a little bit different. The Xin having a lot of impact once he started pairing it with that Lulu in the mid-game. That's what you want to see coming out of your junglers. Let's take a look at a few of the highlights, though. As it currently stands, I'm wondering to see what's got to change in the next game. I say it after every single game, but it's because I am infinitely curious, you know. How do you respond to this in a draft? You picked away the Pantheon that you had a good game on to start with, a weaker one in the second, but as things bubbled on, you saw actually that Xin Zhao is also a massive threat of his.
Yeah, I think this Lulu pick really did a lot of work to serve as a disengage. Whoever is the focus of Knight is just going to get that wild growth, so it makes things a little bit hard to burst someone down and just denies the kill and the play after that Grand Starfall. And I gotta say though, in this game, Tolkien has been very, very brave in this game. You know, all of these flash forwards, all of these, positioning being very, very close to the Olaf. I think we've seen this so many times and it has been working. I feel like Tolkien is really feeling it. Exactly. This happened numerous times in the game. Again, flashing forward to enemy lines without guys in the equation. So I feel like he's really feeling the Kai'Sa, and I'm not going to be surprised if he picks it again in the next match.
I mean, she's got that button called the I'm a bad AD carry button that you press and it gets you out of dodge and you stay alive. So why not?
Right.
No complaints. I understand it entirely. I'm joking. Tulkas is not a bad AD carry. Even in the last game they lost, we did see him trying to fight his way back in and do some good work. But the real star of the show for me, again, was Bambi. Game 1, Game 3, MVP for me by night and day. 3 out of 3 Baron steals, or not Baron steals, sorry, but objective contest with the Smite. He walks away as the winner. Spec not even able to get a look in. Really well played by the Xin.
Yeah, he was very, he seemed very calm whenever a Grand Starfall would come along. I mean, Knight would constantly target a potential steal. You drop in from the sky, get the smite on. But Bambi dealt with all those 3 instances really, really well. And what was the result? 3 dragons in the bag and 1 Baron.
Absolutely. Super solid game coming out of Supermassive again. But we saw in game 2 what can happen. We're stepping into another even number game. Can they fight their way back in? Heaven knows. But let's get into it because game number 4 is almost ready. All right, Riku, game number 4 coming right up and at us. A little bit of difference needed in this game or BAL are done. SMB sat at 2-1, need just one more map. They will walk away as the victors of the August final, the lion's share of the prize pool. Unfortunately, of course, for them, no way of making it into the top 2 of this group to make it to the championship. But it's still a good accolade to say we were the best team in August.
Yeah, exactly. Especially this has been a different top 2 from June and July as we take a look at Group B. So I'm excited to see what the picks are going to be because pressure is now on BAL. We'll see what surprise picks they're going to bring out because SMB is now on match point.
Yeah, indeed. Bans did spice up a little bit in the prior game. What's up more in frame? Let me. You'll see me properly now. I can't be the first one to come away. We spoke about that. We spoke about the Ziggs. And sure enough, we're back to seeing that banned away, of course, by SMB. After making good use of it in the previous game. It wasn't exactly massively impactful from what we saw in terms of the individual big plays, but it's just that constant source of damage in the backline, pumping it outright, Riku.
Yeah, I feel like SMB just doesn't want the first pick Ziggs because it's just really hard if you want to pick something that likes to roam the side lanes and you can't exactly leave because the Ziggs can punish you with fast turret takes. But looking at the Camille pick now, they don't want that on Specs' side. He had a phenomenal performance in game number 2. And now look at BAL. They're taking this Xin Zhao pick for themselves. So a Lulu pick could follow through or even a Nash.
Where do they go with this? The Ahri apparently is one of those picks. They take the Pantheon on this side now. They can afford to leave it for a while if they wanted to and prioritize something else, but no. That Pantheon is going to be locked in. Always slightly nervous about a Pantheon into a Xin because of the ultimate on side, the better dueling potential. Darius also locked in for BAL. Loving their draft so far.
Yeah, this could be a repeat result of what we've seen in game number 2. Looking at the Darius pick being unleashed. Looking at Katse over here getting that Kaisa pick. And we talked about the awkward level 1s for Renekton. It's all about Lonely Kid surviving that level 1, getting into that level 3. I like this from SMB, pulling out the Lulu away from BAL there. That has been working out so well as a pair with the Xin Zhao. Of course, you want to get that Dominus plus Wild Growth combo as well. And to top BAL's composition, they're going for the Orianna. So big shockwaves, big shields for the Xin Zhao, or possibly for the Darius that will enable these resets for him.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it all with how things are set up here. I like the Zanaya way of the Lulu, like you mentioned. Even with the Pantheon, it's still going to be a terrifying pick. When he's diving into the backline, of course, with that ultimate, everyone's knocked up around him and still be really, really impactful. However, from what I hear, our game is ready, so let's just get straight into it. Riku, game number 4. Last chance saloon coming through for BAL. Otherwise, Supermassive Blaze walk away as the August finalist winners.
And with their composition right now, it is similar to what they have pulled out in game number 1. It was successful, especially on Bambi's side on that Pantheon, able to find the backline. And now their primary target is going to be Katse's life here on this Kaisa. And they have a lot of tools to do so as well. Level 3 for SMB is very strong. You land in the stun coming from Bambi. Nocris will follow up with a charm. So Rift Scuttler fights may ensue in the next few minutes.
I like how Nacris has had a couple of games of being what he probably considers quite passive, right? He played the Gragas in game 1 that they won, Orianna game 2 that they lost, and the Ziggs in the last game he was kind of playing second fiddle to Bambi and the Kaiser, just going absolutely crazy. Whereas here on the Ahri, a much more involved role. Great pick potential, stuns being laid in, let's not forget polymorphs coming out of Lulu, lots of threat that SMB have on side, especially in the mid game. That's where I want to see BAL be careful. Let's not see them get a little bit too aggressive.
We'll have to see, because that's what their composition calls. For BAL, I feel like it is not exactly the complete opposite, but pieces of it may struggle a little bit in the early game. We're looking for Katse to shine a little bit later as well. So it's all about Spec and Knight to create these active movements and see if they can win the skirmishes in the early game. And of course as well, Gandalf making big shockwave plays perhaps, but so far he's going to take a little bit of that backseat in the early game and provide setups and as well as shields whenever Katse would possibly go Killer Instinct, whenever Knight and Spec would go in.
Just in case you guys didn't catch it, by the way, in case you haven't seen Twitter recently because you've had your eyes glued to the screen, it has been announced on the 24th to the 26th of September, the Origin Series Championships will take place in Stockholm. So please do go and take a look at that announcement as well. You can read all the information in there. Now that we all know what it is these teams are playing for, it's a spot on LAN on the 24th to 26th of September, which again, for these two teams, doesn't really matter now. None of them can make it into that top 2 spot for these teams in Group B, but at least they know now that in future there'll be something more to fight for, and we do, of course, have that incredible LAN to look forward to next month.
That's true. It is, again, proving who the best team is from Group B in the month of August. But now we get to see, look at Nacris and the rest of SMB just diving in, or rather, just trying to conquer the jungle.
Ooh, I mean, they're trying their very best here in the Zin. I don't know about that one. Chief gets a little bit too ballsy for his own good and loses his life as a result. And now it's BAL and the rest of the boys really starting to push their way forward. It's Gandalf and Knight, the ones in the front line, trying to deal with one. They turn it around. They're Lonely Kid in the front line because Guys has arrived off to the side, helping out his guys to try and win this fight. A good bubble coming through. Stun following up on the backside, but I doubt there'll be enough damage there to get this full finish off. Not a bad turnaround because it's SMB taking 2 kills from themselves.
Yeah, we talked about this. Big level 3, big level 5s as well, with the Spirit Rush being into the equation for additional damage, additional mobility to maneuver around the skirmishes that we just saw. Let's take a look at that again with this blue buff. Knight and Gandalf were pretty much far away, and the Shockwave, unfortunately, wasn't there. It unfortunately missed. And Nacris and Bambi were just pretty much waiting for cooldowns, and Knight just tries to push forward, and really nice roam coming from Guys. It was a clutch shield. And therefore, any of Knight's attempt to eliminate Bambi were denied.
shut down pretty rapidly, the way to look at it. Great start coming in for SMB. That 1.2k gold lead starting to build up for them comfortably. And we haven't even got to the point of the first dragon or the herald, which are about to come online in the next 10 seconds. It tells you, by the way, I've just seen the timer. Herald spawns like 0.2 of a second faster than Drake.
Just a delay. Yeah, just a little
Now they're in
tiny
sync.
bit of a delay.
That's weird.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it is in sync.
spooky.
Yeah. But SMB right now going to be starting this. Again, they had full control earlier, so it was pretty hard for BAL to try and contest this one. They're pretty far away. They're a little bit rattled from the previous fight they experienced deep into their jungle. But that means SMB can reset early and then contest for this Rift Herald. That is what a 2-in-1 kind of deal. And we'll see what BAL decides to do as we see Katse and Gariban already roaming top.
All right. Well, towards this Herald now, no doubt surprising that attention turns on up there. I love how once more, by the way, we're seeing the two carries left alone in the bot lane just saying, look, you guys farm up. Not really a problem. You got the Kai'Sa going back, who I imagine wants to, sorry, the Kai'Sa moving back up through the river, who wants to come and join the team up on the top side. The Xayah opted to go back. I have a feeling it'll be a little bit too late here, but they might arrive late. Smite's going to come through, stolen away by SMB, or I say stolen, they were the ones on top of it. Potentially the kill onto Spec coming through immediately after. There goes the Ahri zipping in, but straight away into the back line is Katse, isolated on his own inside the pit, but can he pick up the kills that he needs? It looks like they won't be able to. Tolkas the one trying to do some work, Featherstorm coming out, but can they convert this into more kills? It's a 4 versus 3. Katse the one doing work, and the Darius is in. Spin to win, baby. Finds one for himself. Bambi forced to flash away. A team fight win coming out for BAL, who even us out of 3 apiece.
Tolkas, he was feeling it again from game number 3, but unfortunately at this game I felt like he wanted to do a crazy play of a 4-man route. I feel like I would love to explain again once we get to see the replay, but again, Tolkas was late to the fight. He was late to the reset. It was Katse first in that fight. Let's take a look at this again. Really nice tidal wave knight coming from the side with the proto belt and apprehend. And SMB was basically forced to be trapped in this pit. And we get to see Nacris and able to assassinate Katse. That killer instinct with the shield. He's able to finish. Look at Tolkas here. He wanted to make a play after the Featherstorm, flash with the double man route, but it didn't happen. Meanwhile, a fight over here in the river.
Yeah. I mean, Lolika got burnt down on top side, but down bottom, it's not going so well for the side of BAL. A kill being exchanged back onto either side, but SMB walk away with the 2, bringing us up to 5 and 4. Charm lands, nothing really needing to follow up off the back of it, but another good fight coming through. SMB, this time the ones pulling out ahead.
Nicely done, Shockwave. Guys, he's so close. He's so close.
Again, one of those ones that's going to tilt you for a lifetime. Gandalf going low, but equally giving it back as good as he gets it onto Nacres. Both mid laners just walking and backing away. This gold's so close that it's on a nice edge at this point, Riku. It could go the way of either team, it feels like.
Yeah, it's still incredibly close. And I really love this series so far because it has been a constant tug of war of this power between Katse and Tolkas. Either Katse's just being that big legendary quirky, or now in this case, maybe the Kai'Sa. He might balloon up into a scary monster later on, or Tolkas feeling out this Xayah. That's the reason why he decided to pick it up again, because he has an incredible match earlier.
And there's the catch they want as well. Spec trying to do what he can to get away, but his Xin Zhao in this game, even with the support of the would-be, well, not so much Lulu in this case, it's more the Nami, sorry. No real support coming through to keep him alive in these fights, but that was more being caught out than anything else. The Spec, this game not going the way that it did for Bambi previously.
Yeah, this is the Rome Death Squad, even dropping in this Grand Starfall.
Trying to get what they can to force flash away by the fish to back to safety. Staying in the water pond for now, at least not going to find himself drowning out in the cold air. It's the Herald on the bot side, though, that gets that tower down forward. The pressure being built up as Drake is about to spawn in 15 seconds.
Yeah, that's a 2k gold lead with the first blood tower acquired, and as well as the collective kills SMB has attained. Really nice pickup, Infinity Edge for the first item coming from Tolkas and Double Black Cleaver already for Bambi and Lonely Kid. And really nice loot into the Echo pickup, so good wave clear, and as well as damage contributed to the fights later on. Air Drake now being started by SMB. Vision-wise, BAL only has a measly ward near the mid lane.
And a couple in the pit, but for me, I'm just concerned that if they even try and steal this, we know exactly how things are going to break down for them, so much so that they agree The Xin not even interested in trying to go for a steal, just goes back to taking the Krug to say, look, you want the Cloud Drake, you have the Cloud Drake. No, Biggie Chief, that's good by us. Bambi being engaged on, but there's shields piling up. Still takes a bit of damage, but enough that, of course, he's not going to find himself going anywhere near down. No execute opportunity for Knight coming in.
Yeah, and BAL isn't able to exchange anything off of the map. They weren't even able to push mid lane, even try to push top lane as well. They were trying to find an opportunity if they could contest, but at the end, SMB gets the best deal out of that situation.
Magic. All right, then. More aggression in towards the top side now. Things starting to pile up, and in goes the order as well. They really want to burn down Katse, who did not respect the croc and his sharp jaws, or the blade, of course, attached to his arm. But it's much more natural to say it's all about the jaws. They get the kill here, 7 and 4 now to SMB, and more map pressure stacking up as they now look to try and start threatening onto this blue buff at the same time.
There's so much space for SMB to work with right now. They're able to open up 2 lanes already, only the mid lane standing, as SMB just creating all these, executing the perfect formula. And let's take a look at that replay once more. It's at the top side. Yeah, it's all caught out here. Katse in the middle, with nowhere, in the middle, caught out in the middle of nowhere. That is the thing that I wanted to say.
Yes, those are the words that I wanted to leave my mouth today. Correct. That was a bit of a wild one because also it was the stun out of the Renekton into the wild growth coming out of the Lulu onto the Renekton to get the knock up as well. The charm coming through from the Ahri. Just no way that he walks away alive in that instant. Casting arrows over on the gold at the bottom side of the screen too as well. 9,000 gold coming in for the Ahri, the Death Cap and Ludens, hitting like an absolute truck at this point in the game, as you come to expect. On the other side, it's not looking so good as a counterbalance. About 1,500 gold down from the Orianna. A very minor deficit coming through in the top lane. Things are just starting to spiral ahead for the side of SMB here. And I'm thinking for BAL, who is going to be that big miracle maker? Because the Orianna needs time to scale up. The Kai'Sa needs time to scale up. The best you can hope for at this point, it feels like, is Knight hits a massive ult in a fight, for example, and catches out someone that's a bit isolated. But that's wishful thinking. I can't see SMB throwing that away.
Yeah, I feel like that is the opportunity that BAL is looking forward to. If SMB has a lot of low health targets, Knight can just kick in with the resets on his ult and see if he can get bounties here and there. But with how the map has been very small for them recently because of SMB's control, we'll see as they find a chance perhaps with the Proto Belt. No, it's Proto Belt gone.
They were just waiting for almost Knight to get baited in there, and sure enough, he stepped forward trying to go for the aggressive grab, but no, forced to flash away back in the opposite direction to get himself to safety as the Pantheon came in, the Ahri came in, did force 2 ults out of them, mind you. The Ahri has not got Spirit Rush, and there is no Grand Skyfall coming through for Bambi either. So, although it's not like super massive, it's still an opportunity they've got to play around with should they choose.
Yeah, that ult, the Spirit Rush, will be available when the next dragon spawns, and it's going to be an Infernal Drake. BAL would love to deny that away from SMB. They already have been painful to begin with, and they're going to get even more painful once SMB secures that for themselves. So BAL would love to establish vision already as there's 30 seconds on the clock with that Infernal Dragon to spawn, as we get to see Spec already making moves with no vision. It's going to be a struggle for BAL to see if they can contest.
Yeah, massive one, but here we go. It's all about the Drake that is about to come online. It's an Infernal about to stack up, potentially being challenged by BAL, but you'd expect SMB to be the ones in a commanding position to take it away. Looking towards Bambi here, that ultimate about to come back online, so maybe he really does want to make a pretty extravagant appearance into the fight. Let's see who he can catch out onto. No vision for either side currently on the Drake. I imagine it'll be SMB who want to step inside the river and start getting that one down. But on both sides, no real rush towards that just yet.
Yeah, so far, it has been that mid lane push. We'll see if SMB will start off with Bambi again into the back lane, but now Infernal Drake being spawned. Again, no vision coming from BAL at the moment, so this is pretty dark.
Indeed, what can they do about it? You got Darius on the bottom side looking to make something happen. It's a good split coming through, but they burn through the front line. Who cares about Xin Zhao? What would Xin Zhao do? He would die. Same story for the Xin and the Darius. No front line now existing for these squishier members. Katse trying to do what he can. Spear comes through. Not quite enough to finish him off, but he is done and dusted. Bambi should be able to close onto him here. Gets the stun, closes him out, goes unstoppable. SMB unstoppable in the game.
Yeah, he is insane right now. That's 3 members down, jungler down. That means SMB will decide to just go for that reset at the moment. and will most likely plant down vision for the Baron for the next juicy target. Let's take a look at that again. It is unfortunately Spec just exploding from all the damage focus of SMB, and that's just one minus person. Basically, BAL just want to get out of there. Even though Nakris was pretty low, even though a lot of the members coming from SMB were pretty low, Knight wasn't there to get the resets, get those lovely low HP bars. Now, SMB starting to ward and get control on this Baron area.
I feel like that pincer position they tried to employ in that fight is great if you're ahead or even potentially even. But when you need your tanks on the front line to be able to, take the brunt of the damage and not get isolated like they did in that fight, you need to be together there. But I think it was more Knight getting caught on the wrong side of a bad fight, no matter which way you look at it. This Baron now being started up by the side of SMB. You can see 2 or 3 gathered around the pit. The rest is trying to do a bit of zoning work. Darius is in there. Everyone's stacking in. It's all about the Renekton who's alone. Gets himself back out, slices and dices his way back in. This could be the ending fight if it goes through Riku. They've burnt their way through 2. They have the Baron on side, and surely now they start looking at some of those towers because, believe it or not, as dominant as they've been this game, they've only got 2 towers so far.
Yeah, they've been getting kills, getting that reset, getting kills, and reset, rinse and repeat. And they have been taking care of this lead so far. But now that they have the Baron, they don't have to be conservative anymore when it comes to trying to siege down this towers. And 14 seconds on the clock, and now the charm doesn't connect.
Oh, the damage on that Q is just disgusting. And Garaban can try and do what he wants, but I don't think he'll walk away the winner. The Rampage coming through. This is what happens, Riku. 3-item Ari, all 3 of them being potentially max damage impact items, just chewing his way through the enemy team.
Yeah, he's 5-1-8 right now. Nakris is massive. And Gariban couldn't even manage to get the flash and the heal on the board and didn't expect the big damage coming through. And now this is the 1-3-1 that we're taking a look at. Bambi has been getting a lot of these early kills as well. 506. He is massive, and he also has that Guardian Angel, so he will survive in the next fight.
Bambi's just styling on kids throughout the series, it feels like. This time on the Panth, previously on the Xin Zhao. We saw him on Panth in the first game. The second one, not so hot, but this game, a much larger improvement. Nakres, not quite landing a skill shot, but I appreciate the attempt either way, buddy. Top tower going to be the next focus. Will get burnt down. All 3 fall. The question is, do they press on for the end here, or do they back away due to the lack of mana they may have on side? They're going for it. The GA popped on one side. They're being melted down here. BAL are fighting back Riku, and everyone turns tail to run. They should be able to get him down. They do finish off the one, but Nakres with 0 mana cannot contribute any more to this fight. SMB lose away, but with 3 inhibitors, there won't be too much to worry about.
Yeah, and BAL survives another day. They're able to scare off SMB from ending that game. And it all started because, SMB felt like they could have finished that game there and then. But, of course, BAL is able to get the resets, or rather, get more items since they've been in resetting more, rather. SMB just wanted to maximize the Baron buff. And Bambi, of course, usually it's a Pantheon. Once you go in, there's really no way out. That's a good shutdown bounty going over to Spec over here that he will welcome. And now it is the Elder Drake that is going to be spawning soon. So BAL will have to see if they have space enough to contest this one. Because look, Lonely Kid is busy split pushing at top.
May not be a bad shout then for SMB to go for it, unless he could try and push for the win, but there's no real minions on side. They got wards down to make it happen, but here comes the ult from Bambi. Who can they burn through is the next big question. The Darius and the Pantheon on one side, but it's the Ari just tearing the team apart. This 15,000 gold Fox is doing absolute work. They've rinsed their way through BAL, and surely the only thing on their minds is going to be the Nexus, the series win, and the August finals win. Only 1 or 2 left to defend, and they can't do anything about this. The Croc steps up, as does Feather Girl. Down goes the Nexus. SMB win the August finals.
And they finish off with a 3-1 fashion. Supermassive had an incredible journey, beating Unicorns of Love, Footballists on the way here, and now winning the August finals for Group B.
They've done some real magic there is the only real way that I can look at it. Whew, scary. Let's take a look back at some of the highlights as we talk a little bit more about this series, Riku, because again, for me, Bambi in 3 of these maps been absolutely huge, although we've also seen those performances coming in from Tolkas. We've seen Nakres stepping up as well. A brilliant series overall from SMB.
Yeah, early game, it has been the battle of Bambi versus Spec, who's able to get these objectives down, secure them unfazed whenever a star call, a grand starfall would happen. And it has been really lovely to watch so far. And of course, at the later stages of the game, it has been what? Tolkas versus Katse. There was a game where Katse was just really doing a lot of work as the Kaisa or the Corki. And it is one of those things where you got Nacris involved now in the equation. Not going to be utility, not going to be the Gragas, not going to be, again, that tank, that Oriana. But this time around, just as you mentioned, Dezichu, someone who's more involved, like the Ari, to open up these opportunities with the charm and the combo with the stuns coming from Bambi.
It's one of those you look at and just think a couple of close moments for BAL as the games went by. That second game, much better, admittedly on the back of Katse for much of it. The rest of the team, it didn't feel like super impactful. And, you know, we were constantly praising members of SMB. Guys, one player that I do really want to shout out. It's not often you get to shout out support players, but his Nami play was almost impeccable, even in the game that they were losing in game number 2. Outside of that, it was all about the face roll coming in from the various members on SMB to make this a real team effort to get over the finish line. Definitely an unexpected winner when we came into the start of this competition, but enough clearly to make this one work.
Yeah, exactly. It looked a little bit dicey at first because, again, Katse was able to get early kills in this game, but it doesn't change the fact that Bambi with Nacris and the roams coming from Guys, most importantly, was able to open up these opportunities for them to snowball, get Nacris on the board, get Bambi on the board. And after that, it was basically BAL having a difficult time with no answer whatsoever on how they can deal with the Ari and the Bambi. And Ari and the Bambi, or rather, and the Pantheon as well.
Ari and the Bambi sounds like a weird film name in a way, doesn't it? Yeah, not quite the case here. I mean, it's worth mentioning again, although these were arguably the strongest 2 teams of the month, UOL with their round 2 knockout that shocked everyone. Na'Vi not getting particularly far through the bracket, although they are the 2 teams that make it through to that LAN in Stockholm next month. Again, if you haven't seen the details on that, do go and check out the Wild Rift Twitter. You'll see all the information about it on there. There's a nice little blog post up there summarizing what to expect. But it is UOL and Na'Vi from this group. Supermassive Blaze, I think, almost making a name for themselves as well, because there were a couple of scenarios where they could have been the team to make it out, and that would have been terrifying if you're UOL or Na'Vi, knowing that you've basically lost out on the final day.
Yeah, exactly. Their journey for this August has shown how much they have improved as a team, and it's really, really beautiful to watch. Again, I think Group B has been, again, I say it again, it has been very sporadic because you see June and July, you got Unicorns of Love winning that June and July, but at the same time, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th placers were pretty much different teams across those 2 months, and now we have a different champion coming in. It is Super Massive Blaze, and it's really, really nice to see their journey as well as their improvements as a team.
I'd be really excited to see if they do come out for the next Origin series. That would be amazing to see them come up there and challenge the big names, because yeah, I think everyone else came into this group at the very start of the Origin series saying, realistically, you're going to see UOL, you're going to see Na'Vi making it out, and there are no other competitors really in this. But I'm glad that we've seen that coming through from a team, so hopefully next time around, things continue with the excitement. We do have an interview coming up in just a moment as well with a member of Supermassive Blaze. I believe the top laner in Lonely Kid is going to join us, so we'll look out for that in just a couple of moments. But any closing thoughts you've got on Group B from what we've seen from them today, over this week so far, and potentially even leaning as far back as, say, June and July?
Well, for me, I really love how it is still the rise of the Xin Zhao. I feel like the theme from last month was Xin Zhao flexing from top and then as well as in the jungle. But this time, it has been the Pantheon versus the Xin Zhao, and who was able to get the early lead and is able to get that snowball to, you know, propel the side lanes and as well as your mid laner, depending as what we saw with Nacris there as that Ari. So I really love how, you know, Xin Zhao Pantheon are very popular in this region.
Awesome. Well, we've got Lonely Kid here for an interview, so let's pull him in now to have a quick chat. Hello there, Mr. Lonely Kid. Wonderful game coming out from you guys. Congratulations on the victory. What does it mean to you guys to win the August finals? I assume you can hear us. Maybe not. I'm guessing you can't hear us. Unfortunate. Can you hear us, Lonely Kid? I'm guessing he can't. We tried this yesterday. It didn't work out. Group B just really don't want to talk to us lately. It's a really weird one. Brings a tear to my eyes. Quite sad. I'll tell you what, I'll go wipe my tears away. Wonderful games that we've just had in Group B. Group A is coming up next. Stick around and we'll see you guys soon.